Welcome to the Businessmen and Women of Color podcast. I am your host, Ann Austin, and it is my pleasure to bring quality programs to all of you. I am so excited once again to be back here with another amazing speaker. And by the way, we have one of our corporate sponsors on the podcast today. So please be sure to listen to this message as well as visit all of the pages and listen to all the podcasts because we have so much great information from all of these experts. You do not want to miss it. I want you to take full advantage of the opportunity and please reach out to the people that's on the podcast. They're here to serve you. Just in case you did not know, the purpose of the Businessmen and Women of Color podcast is not only to just share our information, but we're also here to encourage our working professionals and career seekers to enter their line of work. So some of the information that you'll hear on the podcast can very well help you with your career journey. We would also like to once again thank our corporate sponsors and partners, our family of authors, Butler Armstead Consulting Solutions, Human Resource Learning Center, J&F Enterprise, and of course, Women Offering Wealth, along with many of our other business partners and sponsors who's helping to make this event a success. So today we have on our podcast one of our corporate sponsors from Women Offering Wealth. We have Nicole Smith and Kitty Ranger, who are co-founders of Women Offering Wealth, which is a spiritual-based organization that provides education and resources for the community with an emphasis on women and about its wealth principles, which stands for wellness, endurance, activism, leadership, teamwork, and health. So I want to get into a short bio of each of the co-founders, and then we're going to welcome them onto the podcast. Nicole Smith was originally from Hyattsville, Maryland, and she is an alumnus of Prince George's Community College and Howard University. Right after college, she went to work for 10 years as a photography management, where she discovered a passion for capturing memorable moments. Since then, she has transitioned into an amazing career and life of health insurance producer and a counselor serving Maryland, D.C., and Virginia. Nicole specializes in promoting awareness of financial literacy within communities and educating employees on employee benefits. Kitty Ranger, she's a wife, mother of 3 sons, and has dedicated her life to empowering and edifying others through the Word of God. Kitty engages in international ministries since 1996 and has an international ambassador for Christ. She assists in building churches in Jamaica and South America, and during her discipline, she also, along with her husband, pioneered the International Church of Christ in South America. Followed by her tenure foster the church, she also returned to the United States to focus on issues pertaining to family and business development as an insurance producer and spiritual leader. And together they make up Women Offering Wealth. So I want to welcome both Nicole and Kitty to the podcast.
Hi, Ann. Thank you so much for having us.
I'm just so happy to have you here. So happy to have you as a corporate sponsor. So, Nicole, I really want to hear more about your background and how you met Kitty and started W.E.A.L.T.H.
Wow, a long journey. My background, I actually went to Howard to pursue a career in film. After I graduated, I realized that there were so many other people fighting for the same jobs in the film industry. So I said, you know what? I still want to do film, but what is something that I can get into now that I don't have to wait for an employer? And I came into the photography industry. And from there, I worked in management doing studio photography, pet photography, event photography, you name it. And up until recently, about probably 4 years ago, I was a studio manager working for a particular company. And one day I was working a great career, making a lot of money, had benefits. The next day, the company filed for bankruptcy. So it put me in a situation where I'm like, I got to figure out something that I can do, and it doesn't matter what I do, but there would still be money generated. So I got into the financial industry, and I got licensed, and ever since then I've been helping people as far as financial literacy and and making sure that they're secure too, because no one knows what's going to be lying ahead. And the one thing that you do that I did is depend that your job was always going to be there. And when stuff like that happens where the company filed for bankruptcy, it puts you right on the ground and like, okay, I don't know what to do, but I know that there still has to be money generated. I actually met Kissy because we're in the same industry, and I was looking to build my team. And when I saw her ad, I actually went on Craigslist, and I saw her ad, and I called her up, and I said, I have this business opportunity, and I see that you're licensed too. Uh, can we collaborate? And then she started telling me about her role and what she does. And I'm like, hey, we work for the same company. So that's how we actually made the connection.
Wow.
Nothing actually transpired then. But until a year later, Kissy called me back and she said, are you still doing that business project that you were talking about last year? And I said, yeah, I am. But a lot of things transpired within that year. I was involved in a car accident, and it really put me into a position where I was at that time trying to find my journey, and questioning why I was still put on this earth. I was just the accident was bad, and I was seeking and I was trying to reach out to so many people. So when she called me again and with her soft voice and everything, I said, you know what, let me just see what she's about. And we ended up meeting at a library. And I said, okay, well, she is from a source from Craigslist, so let me bring somebody with me just in
Oh,
case.
okay. All right. So let me just take a fork in the road. So Kissy,
Okay.
tell everybody about who you are, where you came from, and what led you up to putting that ad into Craigslist.
Hey, yes. First of all, I want to thank you, Anne, for having us on. We're highly appreciated. Um, I I am Kitty Renga. I am a pastor. I've been a pastor for 19 years. So I gotta take you back a little bit, um, way back. I met my husband when I was 15. So basically, we are high school sweethearts. And from 15 on, we started living together at 18. And we've always had a passion for full-time ministry, for Christian ministry. And when we were living together at 18, we knew it was wrong, but we were just trying to condone it and saying, well, we're each other's first and all that. And so, but from that time on, we were church hopping because we were seeking something that we didn't even know what we were seeking. At age 20, our relationship was getting very rocky. I was one of those, girls grow up in the Bronx. I am not from the Bronx. I was born in Suriname, South America. And so when I was at age 12, I came to the U.S. And 3 years later, that's when I met Steve. And so, a girl growing up in the Bronx, I had the Bronx attitude, and I was always in his face, and I was just really challenging him. And so, at age 20, the relationship was very rocky. And so, I thought, okay, well, it's rocky. Maybe if we make a baby, it's gonna make everything, back to where it was. And so, I was trying to get pregnant, but thank God I didn't. But during that year, at age 20, we were very miserable together. And I remember, and I'm gonna get a little bit personal, but I
Okay.
remember that time, you know, we um we were trying to not sleep together, not fornicate because we knew it was wrong. And as we were church hopping, we got in touch with a church, and we started studying the Bible, and that's when our life totally changed. Basically, overnight we started studying the Bible on a Friday, and overnight, as I thought we were gonna walk back home on that Friday night, Steve, my husband, came up. My husband now, but at that time, my boyfriend, he came up to me and he told me, Either you move out tonight or I move out. And I
Wow.
just looked at him with a
Wow.
puzzled look, but at the same time, I understood what he was saying because for a long time we've been trying to do the right thing, but living together we were not able to do it. So that Friday night, he slept in his car and I went back to the apartment. Saturday and Sunday we studied the Bible nonstop. Sunday I got baptized and Monday he got baptized. And our life was never the same. We started getting being very active in the church. After a year being in the church, we were asked to go into the full time ministry, and not only the full time ministry, but a full time ministry in getting trained in Jamaica. And so I had to leave. I came from a third world country, so when I came here at age 12, the American dream, everybody comes here for the American dream. So I had to make a decision to leave the American dream and go to Jamaica to get trained, to later on, a year later, go to back to my country to start a church. That was the hardest decision I ever had to make. It took me 3 months to make that decision. I prayed, I cried, I prayed, I fought with God. I didn't want to do it, but my husband, well, at that time he was my boyfriend. He was determined, and so I gave in after 3 months. We sold everything. We had a 2 suitcase challenge. We went to Jamaica at age 21 and we got trained there from 21 to 22. It was the most difficult thing I've ever done in my life because coming from New York going to Jamaica, and they didn't put us in the the luxurious Jamaica, Ocho Rios. They put us in the countryside.
Okay.
And so it was a culture shock. And so basically, to fast forward, we stayed there for a year. I cried almost every single week to come back. Eventually, we were shipped off to South America, Suriname, and it was just him and I, and we started a church there. And so, fast forward really quickly, I had two of my 3 children there. We got stationed there in 1999, and we lived there until 2007. We started the church from scratch. The church grew up to 60 plus. It was the best time of my life. First, it started off as the most difficult decision I've ever had to make, but it was the best time. We grew spiritually, we grew as adults, young adults, and I had my 2 children there. And in 2007, we came back with our 2 children to the U.S. and we led churches in New York City, in Syracuse, New York, and then the last one we were at was in D.C. And so, what led me to place in that ad? So in 2015, we took a leap of faith. My husband and I, we took a leap of faith, and we decided to resign from our full time position after 19 years. And that alone is a long story by itself. But we took that leap of faith, 2 paychecks to 0 paychecks. And I started, feeling like, okay, what else can I do with my life? I only know full time ministry. I was sheltered from the world for 19 years, and I don't know what's out there. So somebody introduced me to the financial industry. I got licensed, and I started doing it from 2015 basically to 2016. And in the first couple of months, I loved it, because I really believed in the concept of educating people financially. I mean, it changed our life financially because of all the things that we learned. But I started feeling incomplete, and I felt like all day long I talked to people only about money. And I felt like with my 19 years of spiritual counsel, I felt like there's so much more because every time I walked into somebody's house, I realized that, yeah, they need financial education, but there's so many other needs that were unmet. And those other needs, basically affected their financial situation. And so the other needs had to be taken care of first before you could even talk about finances. So I saw that every time I walked in somebody's house. And so I started feeling very not satisfied in my line of new, my new career. And so I placed the ad on Craigslist just to find out what's out there. I wanted to get some, recruits into my business. And I placed the ad, and then Nicole answered it. Like she said, it took a year because when we first talked on the phone, it didn't go anywhere. Because she was trying to recruit me, so we were trying to recruit each other, and we were in
Okay.
the same company. And so basically, after a year, I called her again, and I just wanted just to check what she was doing. I was in a desperate time, obviously, right? When you're looking through your phones and you're going through all your contacts, you're like, oh yeah, this
Mhm.
person, I remember her. And so
Right.
I called her, and and we just hooked up after the year. And we realized that we were having the same experiences in the financial industry. We felt unsatisfied. We felt that there were so many other needs that were unmet. So we decided, let's organize a group of financial life and health producers, and it was a group of six, and we called ourselves Women Offering Wealth. And so, and then a couple of months after the group was formed, because it was a group just to empower and encourage each other. Because in the financial industry, you make a lot of money, and if you don't have your blinders on, you could fall easily into greed. And so we wanted to really be there for one another. So it was the
Mhm.
six of us. And after a couple of months, I remember sitting on my bed, and I was like, I'm still doing the same thing that I was trying to stop doing, and that's only talking to people about their money. And so I looked at the woman offering wealth, wow, and I said, wealth, what does wealth mean? And then I came up with the acronym of wellness, endurance, activism, leadership, teamwork, and health. And I said,
Wow.
we're not just women offering wealth, meaning finances. Yeah, that's also a need,
Mhm.
but we wealth is so much more than finances,
Right.
and so that's how we came about, where we are now with Women Offering Wealth. We do give financial advice, but Women Offering Wealth has transformed into something that we couldn't even imagine at first. So that's a little bit about me.
Okay, so I have to say wow again for the third time because the both of you just listening to your stories is pretty incredible how you had totally two different things going on in your lives, but yet you had the same path and came together, which was to me is phenomenal because it doesn't happen that often where people just come together like that. And it was meant to be. It was meant for you to call her back after a year later, and here you are today with Women Offering Wealth, which is fantastic. I've been to several. Well, I've been to two of your events already, and I am really impressed with the fact that you guys are going over and beyond to try to make your members happy and to let them know that you care. And I want everybody else to know this because it's not because I'm just a corporate member. You have to actually be in the room to experience it. And I felt very welcomed. I felt very not, I mean, it was really pleasurable when I first met you guys for the first time when Nicole reached out to me about the empowerment, and then I met you guys in person. Everything that you are exhibiting as far as your passion with WOW definitely came out in the conversation that we had. So
Mhm.
Nicole, so you got with Kitty, and you guys formed this thing. What was your first reaction on when things were coming together? I kind of want to get both of your perspectives on, when you first started WOW
Mhm.
and you started getting things together. Tell me how you felt about that.
Well, just like Kippy said, we originally wanted to have like a small little group, and we wanted to empower each other because as life and health insurance producers, it's very very hard. I mean, it's a very competitive industry that's dominated by males. So we wanted to gather up a group of women and say, you know what, we can build our businesses and we can support each other, and it doesn't have to be a competition amongst each other, but we can actually give each other support, and all of us can be successful. And it that was our original goal. But as we started going out into the community and helping people on the financial tip, we realized that, hey, we're sitting down with it doesn't even matter. It was like families and couples and individuals, and all of them served a bigger purpose when we talked to them. We noticed that their health affected their finances, their wellness, how mentally they are as far as handling the stressors in life and their endurance. All of those are factors into how someone in their spending habits and how they deal with their finances. So our small group of women offering wealth turned into the two of us after a while. And our mission was solely to empower not only ourselves, but other women. And you don't necessarily have to be in the financial industry. You just have to want a need to better yourself and reach your full potential. And when Kissy came out with those 12 principles, it was like an enlightenment for us that, this is what we should do. Because you can be financially wealthy and still not be wealthy at all.
Right. That is correct. That is definitely
Um,
correct. You can have
and
all the stuff in the world, but never really be actually wealthy.
Yeah, and
and
satisfied.
the happiness behind it, it speaks a lot when you can sit down with women from all walks of life, and you still have that same commonality between you of wanting more out of life, and not just on the money side, but wanting better health for yourself, so that way you can leave a legacy for your family. Say, you know what, I could live beyond my generational or my family's past of passing at the age of 70 or whatever, or even when it comes to enduring. I normally, when it comes to trials and tribulations, I back away, instead of enduring. Those are the different stories that we've been hearing amongst women. Where it's like, you know what? Let's see if we can actually help each other, because one person's strength might be in wellness, and another person might be their strength is in activism. And if we come together in a group where we empower each other, then we can actually be stronger, and we can be wild ourselves.
Exactly. Exactly. So, Kitty, can you talk about some of the services and the events that WOW has been doing since your inception?
Well, yeah. Just to go a little bit back, because mine's is a little bit more personal in the development of WOW. I remember in 2015, I was deeply depressed because since we stepped out of the full-time ministry, I felt like that's all I knew. Now, what is going to become of my life? And the entire year of 2015, I felt very depressed, and I fought in my prayer room. I had my little prayer room with all scriptures on the walls, and I would go in there and pray and cry and just wrestle with God. And I remember during that time, I decided, I said, God, he put something on my heart. I said, I wanted to help women, because I was like, man, I have a wealth of knowledge after so many years in the full time ministry, counseling married couples, premarital, singles, just having the wealth of knowledge. And I was like, I wanna get a group together, women. And I even mentioned, I was writing in my little journals, and I go back now and I see that I wanted to form a group, and I wanted to help the women just to be real, get the mask off, the makeup off, like just, like how we say, let your hair down. Like for me, it was just take the
Hmm.
makeup off, take everything off, and let's
Hmm.
just be real. And
Right.
I remember that was 2015. So now with WOW, is very much that, we're both, all of us in WOW, including the founders, we are all learning, and we're all learning how to become WOW. And all the services that we provide is definitely provided by God, because if Nicole would attest to that, because everything that's going on now in WOW, we could honestly say that God is the CEO, because he is guiding us everything that's going on. And so for me, it's a little bit more personal because it's not about just, the organization. Wow, this is about, I feel like I am doing what I was called to do, and that's to help other women and to have the wow factor in their life, to become a woman of wow. When you sit down with an individual and you share your life and you share how you endure and how you had to fight for your wellness. I know in 2015 I was so depressed, I had to go on medication and I had to fight for my wellness, and how I had to endure. I had to really understand what leadership was, because everything that I had learned about my leadership position as a pastor was not quite what God wanted me to learn. And I feel like with being in WOW now, I'm learning so much about through the WEALTH principles, even though I came up with them, but I'm learning so much. And every woman that comes into WOW, I really believe is a reason, is a purpose. Everything happens for a purpose. And every single person that me and Nicole meet, we know that is bigger than what we even expect. It's way bigger. And I don't know what is gonna happen to WOW. I really don't know where it's gonna go, but I just we're just being led by God, and I'm just very excited to be having my seatbelt on and going for the ride.
That's
Really
fabulous.
exciting.
That's
Yeah.
fabulous. And one point I wanna just re-emphasize is the fact that what we do in life for our business or for our personal goals is always bigger than ourselves. I recognize that throughout my life and starting Austin Tech and some of my other initiatives that I'm working on, that it's never always about me, it's always about the bigger picture. And we have to keep our mind focused on that if we're going to make it to the next level. Because if we're just sitting back and focusing just on us, which we can do at some point, but even this podcast is bigger than me. It's bigger than all of us because it has a mission. And I truly believe that each one of us is given an assignment that God is leading us to do. And we just have to follow that. And this is my assignment, and WOW is your assignment. And it's a phenomenal idea. I love the whole principle thing. I love what you're doing with it. I like the atmosphere. And I'm letting everybody know what my experience is because I want them to come to a WOW Wednesday or a WOW event or just collaborate with WOW because in the end, you're going to get not just be wow, but you're going to get something bigger than that out of it. And I wanted to drive that home. So, talk about some of the main initiatives that you guys are working on that you want people to know about. Either Nicole, Kithy can answer or chime in on that one.
Well, right now, of course, we have our monthly event. Um, our initiative for, and then our events are normally around a holiday, but the one that's coming up on May 13th is called Nurture Your Wealth. And we're trying to have a movement for people to start getting engaged with health and exercising, which is one of our wealth principles, which is incorporating women's health issues and nutritional health issues and even healthy risk assessment. Um, a little bit more about self care information and how to deal with stress and also work life balance. So that's the movement that we're trying to campaign right now. I like the fact that we have workshops, and the workshops is in each and every wealth principle. So we, for example, for activism, trying to get the community involved and also our members involved with community service and outreach, and also develop platforms to speak upon different issues that pertains and actually affect us all when it comes to social issues. So those are the different type of initiatives that we have. But we definitely want to keep our ear to the ground as far as social issues is concerned and see how we can actually help the community.
Okay, fabulous. Kithy, what type of things do you need from the people who are listening to this podcast or participating that may be able to help WOW with your efforts? What do you need to thrive?
We are definitely being God-led, because WOW started off something totally different than what it is now. So what I want to encourage the listeners is that, like I said before, for me it's a lot personal, because I've been through basically all the wealth principles, and I believe that God allowed me to go through that so that I could, so that WOW could be given birth. So what I need from the listeners is that if there's any listeners that's out there, if you're going through something, if you feel like you're the only person that is going through what you're going through, that is a lie from Satan, because every woman, and this is why I thought about that in 2015, that a lot of women, they walk around acting and looking like everything is okay, everything is fine, and they put the makeup on and they go out and put their nice clothes on, but when they go back home, they are miserable. Maybe they cry themselves to sleep, and maybe they feel like there's no purpose of for my life, and you just feel hopeless. So for me, what I'm calling all listeners, or any listener that might be listening to this podcast, is that, that's wow. This is why God created WOW. I really believe, not only for myself and Nicole and everybody else is a member of WOW, but really for the women out there that feel like, they have nowhere to go. I know in our community, in the Black Americans, we often backstab each other, and we often, don't want to see each other succeed. We will do anything possible to compete against each other, and we're never really being our sister keepers, and so we want WOW to be that kind of place where you could come, and we want to have the atmosphere where everybody comes and feel loved, you feel accepted, you feel encouraged, there's no judgment. And so any listener that needs that, that's what WOW is, and that's what we are trying to cultivate in WOW. But also the listeners out there that want to help, we have monthly events, and we are definitely in need of a facility. We're in need of sponsorship, because we are definitely being led by God, and God is going to open all the doors. But I really believe that this podcast is one of the doors that God is opening, so that any listener out there that, really could resonate with us and really could, understand what we're trying to do, and you want to help, any help is welcome. Especially a facility, because that's the hardest thing.
Yeah.
I think that's the hardest thing. Every month to find a venue to, because we have so much that we want to do, but when you don't have a home, when you don't have a venue, you're very limited, financially, and also you're limited because you're always looking for different places that you could go, and sometimes, you cannot get where you really want to go. So that's the biggest need right now.
Okay.
For WOW. Yeah.
All right. Well, you guys heard what Kitty is saying. I really want to thank you, Kitty and Nicole, for being on here and being very candid about your journey, about the creation of WOW and what you're trying to do. And again, I'm going to encourage everybody who's listening to this podcast that please donate your resources. It is a good thing to do sometime. It's also a great way to network. It's also a great way to meet new clients and meet new business owners and be able to foster and build this community that I consider to be a community of resources. So let's continue the trend to network, collaborate, and patron each other's business. Take the time to go to every single page and listen to every single podcast, because you never know, the next opportunity will be in that message. And so with that, I want to thank you, Nicole and Kitty, for being on the podcast today and for being a corporate member to sponsor this event.
Oh, thank you, Anne.
Thank you, Anne. And it's our pleasure, because you are definitely doing what we are preaching, right? You are pulling everybody together, and you're supporting, businesses, and that's excellent. We really want to commend